Hey, what's up? Hello. If you are new here, my name is Kayla and you are watching Kayla's Bookish Vibes. Today's video is going to be my monthly reading wrap up for the month of April. It should be fairly quick. In this monthly reading wrap up, I'm going to go over the books that I read this month. We're also going to discuss the books that I chose from my Shop My Shelves video, where it wasn't necessarily a TBR, but it was me trying to make a conscious effort at reading the books that I already own here on my shelf. So we picked a few and we're going to go over whether or not I actually completed those books. And then we'll also discuss a few of the books that I purchased this month. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Let's first talk about some of the books that I read this month. So in my Shop My Shelves video, I wanted to read a historical fiction from my shelf that I already owned, and I did accomplish that by reading this book, Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. In this book, we are following our nurse, Sybil. Sybil is a brand new nurse in 1973. She just graduated nursing school, and her first job is to administer two young girls, her first patients, a birth control medication. However, she quickly realizes that the birth control medication she is giving them is experimental, and she decides to stop giving them the drug. We kind of follow the case as it is based on a true story of these two girls and what the state of Alabama ends up doing to them. I don't want to give too much away in this book. Now, it is dual timeline, so we also get a glimpse at the present day time, which is 2016 in this book, and Sybil has become a doctor. So we're kind of getting like flashbacks as well as where she has ended up and where she is now. I really enjoyed this book. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed the historical elements of it. Obviously, I am a historical fiction girly. I love historical fiction, and this is a book that's definitely going to leave you Googling things and wanting to know more about the case that it was actually based off of. The two sisters that this was based off of, like in real life. Okay, so in the author's note, it says this was inspired by a real life case of Ralph versus Weinberger, which happened in June of 1973. And you can definitely tell that this is pulling from that case. After reading this book, of course, I did my Googles, I did my research, and I could tell that she really was inspired by that case. And I really enjoyed her taking the time to do the research and pen this amazing novel. The next book from my shelf that I read was a fantasy. I said I wanted to read a fantasy off my shelf, and I did. It was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I also ended up giving this one 4 stars, and I loved it. This is pegged as a fantasy romance, but I do believe that we focus more on the fantasy elements and the world building in this book. I really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of sad that it has been sitting on my shelf for so long and had gone so long being undiscovered by me. I picked this up because the 3rd book in this trilogy, this is a series, the 3rd book in the trilogy comes out this year, and I really wanted to know, do I even like this book? Am I going to continue on with the series? And I absolutely am going to continue on with this series. Zele was my girl. I did a reading vlog on this, so I will leave it linked down below. If you want to know more of my thoughts in depth, I will leave that link down below for you. But I really enjoyed this one and gave it 4 stars. The only 5 star of this video is When the Moon Hatched. Now, this was not on my Shop My Shelves video. I just picked this up because 2 booktubers that I really enjoy recommended it and said that it was a really good romantasy. I have been in my romantasy era lately, and I also did a reading vlog on this book as well, so I will have lots of videos for you to check out, linked down below. But I loved this book. 5 stars. It gave me all the feels. It gave me all the feels, and it is a chunkster. I did end up reading this on Kayance, which is my Kindle. And then once I realized that I was really into the book, I said, yes, I need the physical copy for my shelf. You can check this out on Kindle Unlimited, so you do not have to purchase it if you don't want to. You can check it out on KU, but I highly recommend. This book was so good. The writing of it was just so poetic at times, but it was also straight to the point at other times. I feel like I've already gushed about this book enough on the reading vlog that I did of it, but my rating still stands. I still feel the same exact way about this book. I did predict that it was going to be picked up traditionally, and I was right in my prediction, which I kind of figured. Just reading this book, I could just tell that it was giving like traditionally published. The girls were going to go up for this book. It was going to get picked up, and I'm so right. So I'm glad that I did get the indie published version of this book, and hopefully the author doesn't do anything that will make me have to unhaul this book. I really enjoyed it, and I do want to get the copy when it is traditionally published. I do want to get that copy as well. Now, the other 2 books from the Shop My Shelves video that I wanted to read was a middle grade from the desk of Zoe Washington. I did also read this one and ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This was more so me reading this book to make sure that it was a good book for me to send to my niece, and I did approve of this. I will be packing this up in a nice little care package to ship off to her. But I really enjoyed it. We are following Zoe. Zoe's father, biological father, is in prison and she has never met him, doesn't have a personal relationship with him. One day she receives a letter from him in the mail, and it appears from that letter that he has been sending previous letters, but her mother has not been giving those letters to Zoe. Once Zoe accidentally finds the letter, she decides that she wants to correspond with her dad, and so they write back and forth. We also follow Zoe as she gets her first job, as she is navigating friends moving, as she is navigating falling out with other friends. It's just a really cute middle grade book. Maybe heavier subjects, but it's just very age appropriate. It's definitely for middle grade. It's age appropriate, and I thought that it did so in such a cute and sweet way. Highly enjoyed this book. The other book that I read off of my shelf was The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Bashan. This book has been on my TBR for so long. Look at the cover. This book has been on my TBR for so long, y'all, like extremely long. And I kept saying I want to read this book because Miss Farrah Bashan has a new book coming out this year that is also a romance. Also, this is a series. There are 2 other books that take place in this universe and they're all friends. And I was like, I have literally 3 of her books that I have not read. I'm planning on purchasing a 4th, and I don't even know if I like Miss Farrah Bashan's writing style. I ended up giving this book a 3.5. It was a very cute romance. In this book, we are following Samaya. Samaya is on the dating scene. She's trying to find a man. She has her career down pat, but she really wants to pick it up in the love area, and she wants to find a man. So she's going on this date with this guy, and as she's getting ready, her sister is like reading her off these tweets that she's following, and there is a man on a date, on a horrible date with another lady. As she continues to read the tweets, Samaya realizes that the guy on this date is the guy that she's supposed to be going on a date with. So she goes down to the venue, to the restaurant where he is currently wooing someone else, and she decides to pull up on him. Not only is Samaya there to pull up on him, there is a 3rd woman. All 3 of these women have been played by this guy. This happens very early in the book, within like the first chapter or 2. This is not a spoiler. And these 3 women proceed to tell the man off. They dump him, but they remain friends. They make a pact that for the next 6 months, they are not going to date. They are going to focus on themselves and the things that make them happy and how they can improve their lives outside of being in a relationship. Samaya realizes that she cannot hold on to that 6-month pact. This was really cute. It was a romance. I enjoy Miss Farrah Bashan's writing style. There was nothing that really stood out to me about this romance, but I do want to continue the series, and I do believe that I will be picking up Miss Farrah Bashan's new release. I enjoyed it. 3.5. Now, those were all the books that I read this month. I have noticed that the amount of books I have been reading each month has started to dwindle as I have started my YouTube channel, and that's honestly because I have been dedicating more time to like filming and editing, so I haven't been able to read as many books as I typically do. 5 books this month versus like last year in April, I read 8 books. So I've noticed that literally every month the total amount of books that I have read has been cut in half compared to last year. But I also didn't have a BookTube channel last year, so it makes sense. But those are all the books that I read. These are the books that I purchased, and all of these are new releases. The first book is When I Think of You by Maya Ariel. This is actually a book that I read last year because I got an ARC of it. But this book just came out this year, and I knew last year as soon as I finished reading this book on my Kindle that I was going to buy a physical copy of this book because it was just so cute. It is blurred by Kennedy Ryan on the front, which I thought was so fitting because this book really reminds me of Kennedy Ryan's writing style, and I feel like if you enjoy Kennedy Ryan, then you would also really enjoy this book. It kind of puts me in the mind of Real by Kennedy Ryan, which was a really good book. In this book, we are following Kalia and Danny. Kalia has paid her dues, but endless days spent behind the reception desk at a flashy film studio have only pushed her movie-making goals further out of reach. That is, until a surprise reunion presents an opportunity that can make her career or break her heart a second time. This is a second chance romance. So while Kalia is working at the front desk of her job, Danny Prescott, which is the guy that she fell in love with in college, comes waltzing in. Danny Prescott crashed and burned. While her career has stalled, his star is on the rise. So when the hotshot director reappears offering her a job on his next major production, it's a shock to her system. Working with Danny may reignite the passion and promise of their film school days, but trusting him again won't come as easily. So Danny comes in, offers her a job as being like his assistant while he's making a movie, and she accepts, and then it's, you know, reignited. What I loved most about this book is, although it is a romance and the focus is on the relationship and rekindling the relationship, it's also on Kalia as a person and what she wants for herself and what she's willing to do for her own happiness outside of her relationship. Kalia has to do what's best for her at the end of the day, and I'm so happy that in this book she chose herself. You know, I feel like we don't get that a lot in romances. It's always about the relationship and solely focused on the relationship, and that's the happy ending, where the relationship is important in this book, but the happy ending is more about Kalia, and I really appreciate that. I think I ended up giving that book 4 stars, and I highly recommend it. The second book that I bought this month that was a new release is The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. When I talked about getting this book in a vlog, I kept calling her Etta James. I don't know why I kept doing that, but Etta Easton wrote this book. It is called The Kiss Countdown. I also read this book last year and really enjoyed it. I believe I gave it 3.5 stars. This is about Amiri Price. Amiri is a party planner. She has recently lost her job. She's also reeling from a breakup, and her mother is really sick, so that's taking a toll on her as well. One day in a coffee shop, she runs into her ex, and lo and behold, her ex is already with someone else. So Amira decides that in order to save face, she's going to fake date this guy that she ran into earlier in the day, or like earlier in the week, and he goes along with it. Vincent is the new guy. So Vincent is actually an astronaut, and he does agree to fake date her only if she agrees to fake date him and accompany him to like a family trip out in the woods somewhere. She agrees. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was absolutely sweet. My only quarrel or my only problem with this book is that it wasn't dual POV, and I liked Vincent's character so much that I wanted to know more about him from him. I feel like he had a very interesting family story that I really wanted to know more about. Also, Vincent is a freaking astronaut. I wanted to know more about his job and like what life was like for him as a Black astronaut. We didn't get anything from Vincent. It's all from Amiri, but I still really liked it. I think it was the perfect pace and the perfect length for a romance, and I highly recommend. So cute, and the cover is adorable. There's actually a special edition of this book that I really want. It's in purple, but I refuse to pay $50 for that book, and people are reselling it on Pango for 50 bucks. So I'll be waiting until they come off of that high horse and lower that price before I buy the special edition of that book. The last book that I purchased this month as a new release, and the one that I actually finished today, was One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole. This is a thriller. I'm not going to give my thoughts on this book because I literally am doing a reading vlog on it, and that video will be up after this one. So you should be seeing this one on a Thursday. This video will be up the following Sunday, so please check it out. I will say I really enjoyed this book, and I highly recommend that you pick it up. All right, those are all the books that I purchased. Those are all the books that I read. We also did a little trip this month going to a used bookstore called Second and Charles, and we got quite a few books in that haul. I'll go ahead and run through those quickly, even though I have already mentioned them, and I did a haul in that video, which will be linked down below. Say it with me. The books that I got in that haul, the first one being For All Time by Shanna Miles. This is a YA romance, but it seems like there's going to be some fantastical or some magical realism in this book, and I'm really excited. It kind of reminds me of that one movie with Will Smith where he was like a super Hancock, I believe is what it's called. The synopsis of this book reminds me of Hancock. So it says, together Tamar and Fayard have lived 1,000 lives, seen the world build itself up from nothing only to tear itself down again in civil war. They've even watched humanity take to the stars, but in each life, one thing remains the same: their love and their fight to be together. One love story after another. The only issue is they never get to see how their story ends until now. Is that not giving Hitchcock? I love that movie, and I think I'm going to enjoy that book. Next, we have Sanctuary. This is like a sci-fi YA. I don't even really know what it's classified as, but I feel like I'm really going to like it because what I've noticed is the books that have sci-fi elements in them, I only really like them when they're YA. And because this is YA, and because I can already tell that this is going to have something to say, there's going to be some social commentary about immigration in this book, I'm probably already going to like it simply for that fact. but because they have included a little bit of sci-fi situation in it, I feel like I'm really going to love it. It says everyone living in the US had to get an identification chip implanted in their wrist. The chips would have all of our information on them: ID number, birthplace, blood type, and medical history, even allergies. The chips would make everything so much easier, the president told us. With just a simple scan, we would know who belonged here once and for all. If you didn't have the chip, clearly you were illegal. I'm excited to read it. I feel like that's all you need to know from the synopsis. And yeah, YA, you guys already know YA. Something about YA I can't say no to. Another book that I got from that haul was Black Women Writers at Work. And this is just an interview of a lot of really amazing Black female authors. Lots of authors in here. Some I'm familiar with, some I have no clue who they are, but once I start getting into this, here's the receipt. Once I start getting into this book, I'll know a little bit more about them. I was really excited to find this in Second and Charles. I also picked up a YA fantasy series. I believe this is just a duology. The first book is called Witches Steeped in Gold. Sorry for the glare. And then the second book is called Empress Crowned in Red. The second book is thick, okay? Extremely thick. But I picked this series up as well. Also picked up Roots, which, talk about a thick book. I picked up Roots by Alex Haley. And I also picked up Queen by Alex Haley. I know these two are somehow connected, so I got both of those for a really good price. And then the last used book I got was It's Not All Downhill From Here by Terry McMillan. If you know, you know. I have been trying to collect all of Terry McMillan's books. I went in thinking that I would just find like some of the books but in old covers, but I believe that this is the new cover. It was only 8 books, so got this. I'm gonna add it to my Terry McMillan section here on my bookshelf. Okay, so I'm looking back at my Shop My Shelves video because I want to see all of the books that I picked and see how many of those books I didn't actually read. So let me scrub this video. Okay, so we did read our historical fiction choice, which was Take My Hand. We did read that one. Our romance book, we did end up reading that one because we picked The Boyfriend Project. Yay us. Ooh, we also read our middle grade book, our middle grade pick, From the Desk of Zoe Washington. I'm proud of myself, guys. When I say I do not stick to TBRs ever, I'm surprised that I even read as many as I have so far. I think we also, yes, we read our fantasy pick and we loved it. So glad we read that one. And then I think I said I was going to read more than one fantasy pick, and I think I only ended up reading one. But that's okay. That's okay. That was like a stretch. Giving ourselves something to reach for. Our thriller pick. We did not read our thriller pick this month. Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I said I was going to do an author taste test of this author, and what ended up happening was I tried to read Ace of Spades first, and I didn't like it. I could not get into it. I think I'm going to try again because I tried to read it on audio. And I think I just maybe need to try and read it physically. And that's okay because we still read a really good thriller this month that we ended up really enjoying. All right, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of this monthly reading wrap up. I don't think I'll do monthly reading wrap ups every single month just because honestly, I feel like I'm just recounting all of the things that I've already shared with you this month. A lot of these books I included in reading vlogs. So again, if you want to know my thoughts more in detail, I will leave all those videos linked down below and you can check those out. But thank you so much if you stuck around to the end anyway. I really appreciate it. Please leave this emoji to let me know that you made it to the very end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you would like. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.